So I've just hopped off a call from a mastermind client of mine, and we're talking about scaling ads, meta ads specifically. So in 2026, we're going to be looking at tripling, quadrupling the ad spend. And this is based on a mathematical formula to get obviously the output and scale to beyond $100,000 months within their business. So I want to share with you the conversation that we had and hopefully be useful for you to understand when it comes to scaling meta ads. Now, this is off the back of my own experience. I've been in e-commerce for over 13 years. I co-founded an e-commerce business in 2013 with my brother. We left our corporate jobs. We started the business from the kitchen bench, from absolute scratch, bootstrapped the thing the whole way through. And that business has now gone on to do multiple seven figures per year. And I now help e-commerce brand founders scale to record revenue months through my Ecom Blueprint flagship program and my up-level mastermind program as well, where I work with a very limited amount of people in a hands-on capacity. So this was what I was talking about with a client just earlier about scaling ads. So this business is currently at about a 50 to 60K a month run rate at the moment in terms of sales, and they want to crack $100,000 per month as early as possible in 2026. And so when I looked at their metrics, there's a number of things that I talk about through this channel, through my community about what contributes. But we do know through experience, through evidence, through time and time again, rinse and repeating, that ads, especially meta ads, are your biggest opportunity to scale quickly and sustainably. We just have to make sure the other element there, which is profitability, because a lot of people say go into programs or get agencies, and the coaches and the agencies will say just spend more, right? And they do make more, but they create massive amounts of problems in terms of, say, overselling and stock supply issues and general profitability. So they might be selling 5 or 10 times more, but they're creating 5 and 10 times and 100 times more headaches that ultimately will destroy their business. We have so many people come to us from agencies and other programs that basically say, yeah, my sales increased, but I was making no more money than what I was doing 10x less. So this is why it's so important to have this discussion around the expectations of scaling meta ads. Now, the two methodologies that we actually use is called horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. All right, really simply, horizontal scaling basically means increasing your ad spend on what is currently working. Super simple, super straightforward. There is basically a fork in the road where your results will continue to maintain and or increase, okay, when you do that, until potentially your ads hit a bit of a glass ceiling, which is the fork in the road number 2, which basically means that your cost per acquisition's going way up and your ROASs are going way down. And that's what typically happens, as I was mentioning before, with people's sales. Okay, the other method of scaling is actually called horizontal scaling, which is kind of considered, similar to just testing generally, right? When you start out with ads and you're testing with ads, we're using split variations. You can do this in terms of scaling as well, because scaling technically is just spending more to get more out, right? That's what scaling actually means. So horizontal actually means having what's working, leaving that as is, use a unit of say $100 a day and spend. And then what you go and do is say, okay, I want to scale, but I want to horizontally scale. So I'm going to spend an extra $100, but that's going to be on some other ads, a different category, a different product, other, say, formats of ads, etc. But completely different from what you've actually been growing with so far up to this point. So very simple methods that we use, and it's honestly not more complex than that in terms of scaling. But the second point I wanted to make, other than say the methods, is our expectations around scaling. Now, this particular brand that I was talking with were getting extremely good return on ad spends. Okay, they were spending for about that 50, 60K per month. They're spending about $5,000 to $6,000. So roughly that's a blended ROAS of sort of 10x, if my maths is correct, 8 to 10x blended ROAS. That's really strong, and it's according to their numbers, right? That's their normal. That's cool. Now, days gone by, months gone by, years gone by, when they've tried to increase spend, they see dramatic decreases in their ROAS to sometimes unprofitable levels. So firstly, we're going to help them obviously with the vertical and horizontal scaling, understand what that actually means. So the methods we're going to get correct this time around. But then the secondary understanding is that it is inevitable that when you're trying to scale, that your costs in terms of advertising costs will go up, your ROASs will go down. That's just an inevitability. As you reach to colder audiences, people need more warming up, right? It takes more time to get that return on the investment. It's just literally par for the course. And so the second thing I was mentioning, apart from the strategies that we're going to use with them, is, look, this is the expectation. It would be great if we could get 8 to 10x ROASs continually up to millions of dollars per month, but it's not the reality. So the numbers we actually need to look at is certainly what is our break even ROAS? Like what's the minimum we can actually go down to? So for them, that could be say 3x. Then we've actually got the fat in between that. So say they're getting 10x and their bottom is 3x, then we've actually got all that room to move where they're still profitable that we can accept, let's call it, when we increase the spend. So this is a really important understanding because it actually gives you the confidence through your optics, your actual numbers, not just gut feel, about how aggressively you can go, when to keep going with confidence or when to pull back, again, with confidence, to make sure that the numbers are actually working. And so that's the conversation that we began to uncover. We actually calculated what they were doing, what their break-even ROAS is, and then again, the strategy week by week, month by month about what we can do in terms of increasing their scale of our ads and what we can anticipate to get out. And so we mapped all that out from a financial aspect, a structural standpoint as well, so that they feel really confident moving into the 2026 period that they're going to be able to achieve what they want. And what we came out with was a really simple calculation, right? To get that 100K per month, we basically need to spend $20,000, right? We're using that kind of 5x, and which they've never spent before. And so by declaring this, by actually calculating it using data gone by, and then I guess hypotheticals, but also experience about what they can expect, using the allowances and the fat in there as well, we can start to condition ourselves to what it's going to take. And I've done this multiple times with mastermind clients and EB clients about, yep, you just got to get used to spending 20K a month. Like it doesn't get any more complex than that. Okay, like as I say, agencies, gurus, programs, whatever, they'll try and pull the wool over your eyes and talk to you about really complex models and this and this and this. And it's like, it actually doesn't get any more complex than that calculation. Of course, devil's in the details, structure matters, rollout matters, right? But actually understanding the fundamentals from a 10,000 foot view, what we call the back of the napkin calculation, is way more important than everything else. Because as long as those numbers are working, you're good, you're golden. You could have honestly a monkey running your ads. And if those numbers are within KPI that you can calculate in a heartbeat every single morning to know you're on track, you're golden. That's what actually is the difference between people scaling profitably and not. Okay, where people get it wrong, again, through agencies and programs, is they're seeing the revenue, but they're not looking at how much they're spending, or at least understanding what they're spending, right? They're not understanding the lack of profit or the literal loss, even though they're making 10x the revenue, right? Then again, they have issues with customers complaining because they're not getting the stock. Suppliers can't get enough in time. You're having to air freight. There's all sorts of things that flow on down the line, right? So you have to make sure that you have these expectations set. You have to have an awareness of what this looks like, but especially you have to understand the inputs to produce the outputs. Okay, so I guess from this video, hopefully you can take, these are the numbers that we need to understand and look at to scale successfully with our business. Because as I say, like we're talking about high level type stuff here. Decade plus experience in e-commerce and doing this for myself and others. It doesn't have to be any more complex than understanding what the inputs are to the outputs hypothetically. And then, as I say, monitoring as it rolls out that you're within those KPIs and allowances. Okay. So look, I hope this conversation was valuable for you, because it is the real key to create the confidence to know your numbers. It's as simple as that. When it works, it works. When it doesn't, we pull back, we look for the next opportunity, what we can do. We make sure that those numbers are all on track and ticking along effectively. Okay. So look, I hope this was valuable for you. If it was, I'd love a like, love a subscribe. You can figure out more about what we do using the link below if you want to check that out. But other than that, I appreciate you for being here. Thanks for watching till the end, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.